Hello everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bulletin, where every revelation hits harder than the last. Today, we dive into an electrifying story that has shaken the entire fandom to its core. Yulong's urgent press conference with Mei Mei's family stunned the public. But it was one single sentence that truly paralyzed fans worldwide. What happened behind those closed doors? Why did that moment send shockwaves across the internet? Stay with us, the truth unfolds right now. Yulong's urgent press conference was never supposed to happen that day. Hours before the world knew anything. The atmosphere around him had already shifted, his managers rushing back and forth. Phones vibrating non-stop. Whispers slicing through the silence like cold blades. Something had happened. Something big enough to pull Yulong out of seclusion and force him into the blinding light of scrutiny. But no one expected what came next, the sudden appearance of Mei Mei's entire family. Their expressions tense, unreadable, hiding a truth that shook the entertainment industry to its core. As the room filled with reporters, the air thickened with anxiety. Camera flashes exploded like distant lightning, capturing every blink, every tremor, every uneasy breath. Rumors had been swirling for days. Some claimed Yulong was involved in a quiet dispute. Others insisted he had been keeping a secret. But no rumor came remotely close to the reality that was about to unfold. Even the journalists sensed it. They leaned forward, hands hovering over keyboards, ready to fire words across the internet the second his lips parted. When Yulong finally walked onto the stage, the room froze. His usually charismatic aura seemed dimmed, replaced by a heavy, suffocating seriousness. Behind him stood the Yang family, Mei Mei's mother clutching her hands tightly, her brother staring directly at the cameras, and her father, stone-faced, as if preparing himself for whatever storm was about to hit. The combination alone was enough to send shockwaves to social media. The hashtag with Yulong's name began trending even before he spoke. He gripped the podium, knuckles pale, and took a long breath. Every camera tilted toward him. Every reporter braced themselves. Before he could utter a single word, Mei Mei's mother stepped forward. Her voice trembled slightly, but her eyes were unwavering. "We came here today," she said, "because the truth can no longer be hidden." The collective inhale from the room echoed against the walls. Even Yulong seemed taken aback, turning toward her as if unsure what she would reveal. Then came the moment that ripped through every corner of the internet. Yulong leaned in, lowered his voice, and spoke one sentence that would paralyze fans worldwide. A sentence so unexpected, emotionally charged, that for 2 full seconds, even the cameras paused as if stunned into silence. But to understand how that sentence destroyed the calm facade the industry had maintained for months, we must go back to the night everything began unraveling. The night Yulong received a call that would force him onto the stage with the Yang family beside him. It was a night drenched in cold rain. A night carrying the weight of secrets too heavy for one person to hold. Yulong had been alone in his studio, posing through exhaustion, when his phone lit up with Mei Mei's name. Not the usual photo of her smiling, but a blank gray circle, the sign she was calling from someone else's device. His heartbeat spiked instantly. Something was wrong. The voice on the line wasn't hers. It was her brother's, shaking, urgent, telling him to come immediately. That Mei Mei had collapsed. That she had whispered something before losing consciousness. Something about him. He rushed there faster than he ever had, heart pounding in his throat. He reached her, surrounded by doctors and family. Mei Mei had already been taken into emergency care. The Yang family looked at him, with grief, with accusation, with desperation. He wasn't sure. That night marked the beginning of a storm. A storm no one was prepared for. A storm that forced Yulong into an impossible decision. One that led directly to the press conference. The sentence he eventually spoke, the sentence that would reverberate across continents, was tied to what Mei Mei whispered before she closed her eyes. A whisper only he heard. A whisper that changed everything. The moment Mei Mei whispered those last fragile words, Yulong felt something inside him break. It wasn't panic. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper, an overwhelming clarity. She had spoken 3 quiet words that forced him to confront a truth he had buried for months. A truth he had been running from. A truth the Yang family demanded he face. But in that hospital hallway, nothing was certain except one thing: the secret could no longer stay hidden. Days passed in a haze of hospital lights, unanswered questions, and tense conversations between Yu Long and Mei Mei's family. Rumors began to leak. Someone had seen him enter the hospital at dawn. Another noticed a Yang's meeting with lawyers. And soon online speculation grew into a wildfire. By the third day, the pressure became uncontrollable. Reporters camped outside. Fan communities exploded into panic. And the Yang family, after long hours of discussion behind closed doors, insisted on one thing: a public statement. Together. That decision alone was enough to terrify Yu Long. Not because he feared backlash or scandal. Because he knew that once the words were spoken, there would be no turning back. The world would see everything: his vulnerability, his failures, his truth. And even worse, Mei Mei was still unconscious. He would be speaking for both of them. He finally agreed. The press conference was scheduled within hours. Invitations were sent silently but urgently. Staff scrambled. Rooms were secured. And the industry braced itself for impact. But no one, not even the insiders, knew that the Yang family would stand with him on stage. Their presence transformed the event from a simple announcement into high-stakes, explosive confrontation with the reality. Back at the conference room, the moment after he delivered his paralyzing sentence felt like the world had stopped spinning. Reporters stared, mouths open, unable to find words. Fans watching live streams froze. Even the Yang family, despite expecting the revelation, seemed shaken by the sheer force of it spoken out loud. Yu Long didn't stop there. He continued, slowly, painfully, unraveling the sequence of events. He explained a late-night call, the collapse. Secret Mei Mei had been carrying. He admitted his own mistakes. Emotional distance he had built. The pressure he had placed on their private relationship. Unbearable guilt he had drowned in since that night. Every sentence was another blow to the room. Each confession pushing the atmosphere deeper into shock. Mei Mei's father finally stepped forward, placing a hand on the podium. His stern presence softened for the first time. He spoke of Mei Mei's struggles. The burden of her sudden rise to fame. The silent battles she fought while protecting people she cared about. His voice cracked when he spoke of her resilience, her tenderness, and the fact that even in her weakest moment, he had thought of Yu Long first. The room trembled with emotion. Yu Long swallowed, his voice barely steady, and revealed the last piece, the truth behind Mei Mei's whispered words. They weren't anger. They weren't accusation. They were a plea. A plea for him to stop blaming himself. A plea for him to choose honesty instead of silence. A plea for him to protect the truth she no longer had the strength to carry alone. He spoke her words out loud. The room shattered. The hashtag surged past 10 million mentions in minutes. Fans cried, raged, defended, questioned, and begged for updates on her condition. Entire online communities broke into chaos. Debates igniting across platforms. Some blamed Yu Long. Others rallied behind him. Every single viewer, felt the weight of what he had confessed. As the conference neared its end, Mei's brother stepped forward, announcing that the family was united in supporting Yu Long's decision to speak. His voice was firm, determined, filled with an unspoken warning to anyone who might twist their story for profit. They were standing together, and they would continue standing together until Mei Mei opened her eyes. The final seconds of the conference were silent. Long bowed deeply, holding the position long enough for the cameras to capture the rawness of his regret and devotion. The Yang family followed. When they left the stage, the world erupted in a storm of emotion so fierce that even seasoned journalists called it the most shocking press conference in years. What happened next, the aftermath, the reactions, the consequences, would shape their lives in ways none of them could foresee. But one thing was certain: the sentence Yu Long spoke that day would echo for years to come. A sentence born from love, guilt, unbearable truth. A sentence that paralyzed fans forever. The moment Yu Long's sentence echoed across the room, everything inside the press hall collapsed into heavy, breathless silence. Reporters who had prepared dozens of harsh questions suddenly found themselves unable to lift their microphones. The Yang family stood unmoving behind him, faces pale yet resolute, as if bracing for the tidal wave that would inevitably follow. Yu Long, his shoulders trembling, his lips pressed tightly together, looked like a man who had finally stopped running from the truth. But the story was far from over. What the public didn't know was that the sentence he delivered was not merely a confession, it was a fracture line, splitting open months of buried tension between him and Mei Mei's family. In the days leading up to this press conference, arguments had erupted behind hospital doors. Harsh words exchanged in whispers. Blame cast and recast until everyone was exhausted. Mei Mei's collapse had not only shaken Yulong emotionally, it had forced old wounds between the two families to resurface. Wounds that had been kept invisible from the outside world. Behind the scenes, the Yang family had questioned Yulong relentlessly. Why hadn't he come sooner? Why had he kept his distance? Why hadn't he protected Mei Mei when she was clearly breaking under pressure? Each question was a blow he silently accepted. He had answers, but none of them softened the guilt weighing on him. And when Mei Mei's brother revealed that she had been hiding her condition for weeks, Yulong felt the world tilt beneath him. That was the moment he understood everything she carried. She carried alone, until she couldn't anymore. He made the decision that terrified him most. He would speak publicly. Fully. Completely. No half-truths. No PR spin. Protection from management. Just raw, unfiltered truth. At the press conference, delivering the sentence that paralyzed fans, continued speaking. He described the night she collapsed. The trembling voice on the phone. The hospital lights. The moment her fingers barely brushed his before she lost consciousness. He spoke of her last whispered words, not dramatic, not cryptic, but devastating in their simplicity. Don't let them blame you. Those 5 words crushed him. Because they meant she knew. The media would turn him into a villain. Fans would tear him apart. Strangers would twist the narrative until it became unrecognizable. Even unconscious. She was trying to protect him. That truth hit the room like a hurricane. From the corner of the stage, Mei Mei's father exhaled shakily. As if hearing the words aloud for the first time broke something inside him too. He stepped forward. His stern composure cracking as he addressed the audience. Mei never wanted hate, he said. She never wanted anyone blamed. She only wanted understanding. Reporters lowered their cameras. The energy changed, resentment dissolved into fear. Anger into confusion. Shock into collective heartbreak. Yulong swallowed hard before revealing the secret both families had guarded for months. He and Mei Mei had been quietly rebuilding their relationship, slowly, carefully. Away from the public eye. She had asked for time, time to heal. Time to find balance. Time to face her inner battles without the pressure of being watched. Yulong respected her wish, but in doing so, distanced himself too much, leaving her to fight alone in moments he should have been by her side. His voice cracked when he admitted it. She wasn't weak, he said. She just didn't want the world to see her suffering. The room felt suffocated by the weight of those words. Then came the second shock of the evening, Mei Mei's brother stepping forward with a stack of documents in his hands. With a trembling breath, explained that Mei Mei had left behind a journal detailing her struggles with burnout, panic episodes, and the fear of failing those she loved. She had written about Yulong often, sometimes with warmth, sometimes with pain, always with sincerity. The revelation ignited a wave of emotion across social media. Hashtags multiplied, some filled with grief, with anger toward the industry that had pushed her beyond her limit. Fans flooded the web with messages of support, apologies, and desperate prayers for her recovery. Even celebrities spoke up, urging compassion, calling for a change in the culture of silent suffering that so many artists endured. Back at the conference, the tension reached its peak when a reporter finally found their voice and asked Yulong the question the entire world wanted to know: what will you do if Mei Mei doesn't wake up? The room froze. Yulong closed his eyes. His answer, when it came, was barely above a whisper. She will wake up, he said. She has to. And when she does, she will not face any of this alone ever again. No theatrics. No dramatic pause. Just truth, raw, humbling, devastating. Mei Mei's mother, moved to tears, stepped closer and placed a gentle hand on his arm. It was the first visible sign that the family no longer saw him as an outsider but as someone who loved their daughter deeply. Desperately, honestly. The gesture sent another wave of emotion through the room. As the conference neared its end, Yulong made one final request to the public: stop speculating. Stop blaming, stop attacking. You truly care for her, he said, give her peace. That's all she ever wanted. He bowed deeply, so long and so low that even the cameras hesitated before capturing it. The family followed. forming a united front that no rumor could fracture anymore. When they exited the stage, chaos erupted, reporters scrambling, fans crying, networks cutting to emergency broadcasts, analysts debating every syllable he had spoken. The world had just witnessed one of the most shocking, emotionally charged press conferences in recent memory. Though no one knew what tomorrow would bring, one thing was certain. The sentence he spoke that day, born from fear, love, guilt, and fragile hope, would be remembered for years. It was the sentence that paralyzed fans. Changed everything. As the lights in the press hall dimmed and the final echoes of Yulong's confession faded into silence, a strange stillness settled over the world. Had begun as an urgent, unexpected announcement transformed into a moment of raw humanity, one that stripped away the glamour of the industry and revealed the fragile truth behind the headlines. No one left that room unchanged. Others walked out quieter than they had entered. Fans watched the replay with shaking hands. And across the world, millions held their breath for the same reason, the hope that Mei Mei would open her eyes and hear the words spoken in her name. In the days to come, the ripple effects of Yulong's revelation would continue to spread, reuniting broken communities, challenging old narratives, and reminding people that behind every public figure is a heart fighting battles no camera has ever captured. The story is far from over. The storm that once threatened to tear them apart has now forged something unbreakable: truth, unity, and the courage to face whatever comes next. For everyone who stood by, listened, and showed compassion during the darkest moment of their lives, your presence mattered more than you know. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And thank you for staying with us until the very end. The journey is not over. And when the next chapter unfolds, we'll be here to bring you every heartbeat, every revelation. Truth that deserves to be heard. Until then, stay safe, stay kind, and see you in the next story.